Yeah. You were telling me about your in-ears that you have for when you do drum
Yep,
work.
I actually used them on a couple live performances too when I had to play to some click tracks, some backtrack stuff with Otten back in the day. And also my drum pad, boom, that had a little sequence and I would follow along.
Hmm. Yeah, I have some Sonar
Naturally.
ones. I think it's Sonars.
Oh, I thought you said stoner. I was going to be stoked on
Oh,
that name.
Stoner. Or no, they're Vic Firth. Vic Firth. Yeah, I've got
Mhm.
some Vic Firth earphones from my late nephew that just cut out all the sounds. So I use those whenever I would do like acoustic drum work or when I do guitar work where I need feedback and I need everything really loud.
Yep. See, I have a pair of those too, and I would use those to drum track with for a long time, but a couple problems that I was running into. They're
Mhm.
hot and sweaty
Yeah.
when you're drumming, and then
Yeah, they
I
are.
couldn't hear the acoustic sound of my drums while I was playing. So when I switched over to
Really?
these, I could actually hear necessary tracks, and I could also hear the ambient acoustic drums coming in as well. So it like kind of
Oh,
changed my
okay.
world for the better. But I can
Okay.
see the application of those for sure.
Okay.
They do come in handy for certain things. Well, you're having a great hair day, so let's do a little
Yeah.
intro. We're just talking today, me and my partner in crime, Jeff Huso. And
Hey.
there's actually some news I need to get out of the way real quick. So Freak Breed
Okay.
Remixed was supposed to drop this morning. It did not clear the queue yet.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think this is my first time this has happened. I guess I didn't give myself enough time to allow that because I was trying to just do a quick release and it didn't work out because it didn't clear. So
I feel your pain, dude.
I know.
Yeah, I had to that Scheisse Katzen album I had to put through two or three times and they kept saying no, not gonna
Oh
do
boy.
it. It's got it doesn't have royalty free MIDI files or whatever,
Right.
but I just uploaded the exact same files again and they took it just fine first pass.
Oh, what?
So I don't even know. It's
Well, yeah, and
whatever.
there's no material on that that isn't 100% original, so I couldn't even imagine. Maybe they're just backed up. I don't know.
Yeah, it was I'm pretty sure that it was a MIDI file of the French national anthem. The Beatles use it at the beginning of All You Need Is Love.
Mm.
The da 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 da. So, but this song was called All You Need Is Blood, and Mike, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
But Mike did he got a MIDI file, but he played it with his own his own instruments and stuff like that. And then they're like, no, we can't. We're not even gonna do this.
Huh. Hey, there's the
There.
cat. Do you
There's
see my
one.
partner in crime over here? Bear.
I do. Yeah, there we go.
Capital T dot bear.
T-Bear.
Yep.
Gotcha.
There he is.
Gotcha.
Beautiful
Cool,
little
man.
guy.
Little dude.
Yep. He's like a medium golden doodle.
Okay.
So what's new in Jeff news? I've got an outline and we can loosely follow it, but I want to catch up with what's
Okay.
going on with you. What do you got going on?
Personally,
No, not
you
personally.
know that some call it a botched
I know what
circumcision.
you've got going on
Just
personally.
got that
No, I'm
part.
kidding. Give it to me.
Oh, musically. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah.
Oh, buddy. It's good to see you, by the way.
Yeah. Musically, I just put this thing together
Oh, dope.
that
Pretty
because
sick.
a pedal board wouldn't just fit everything, and I kept neglecting pedals that I didn't want to neglect. So I kind of
Right.
rediscovered some of the fuzz pedals and stuff like that I had that I just hadn't been messing with.
Mhm.
I finally knew to put them before the compression and not use overdrive on them, so I'm getting the sound that they were made to do. And
now, is this
it's
particularly
fantastic.
to run through an amp and mic a speaker with, or are you using the as before you go into the box, or both?
I built it more for recording going into the box,
Okay.
but you can bypass the IR pedal and just plug it right into an amp and then just mic the amp if you want.
Sure.
So either way, really.
Because that way, if you have a compression pedal, as you mentioned, when you go into
Mm-hmm.
the box or the IR pedal, is that the compression sound you're wanting and getting versus the
Yeah.
cabinet natural compression?
Um, it just kind of depends. I kind of, I just kind of want to bring up my light strokes a little bit, and just squash them up a little bit.
Yep.
And that's all that I'm really going for the most part.
That's kind of part of your sound, like on those guitar parts you've been doing lately for Ariel's Bones, for example, the really delicate,
Really soft. Exactly.
yeah, ethereal Vox 30 sound that I'm just loving that right now.
Cool. Thanks, man. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like
Mhm.
I use my fingers and I kind of go ping and
So dope.
do like 2 strings at a time or whatever, and then just kind of move around.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's pretty effective, and I like the tons of reverb on that. And the shimmer effect is awesome when that's going in the mix too. So, and it's all pedals, dude.
Wow,
There's
dude.
like no VST effects in there.
Yeah, well, I
So,
don't
but,
treat your tracks with any additional effects ever because I don't feel like
hmm,
it needs it. I mean, I've been keeping
okay.
things a little more dry lately anyway. The only thing I really reverb and compress into reverb is drums,
Hmm,
particularly
okay.
snare and a little bit of toms, a little bit of overheads, a little bit of room, but that's it.
Okay.
It's just the sound I like.
That's cool, man. I'll
I
I'll
mean, I
apologize.
was talking to Joe
Okay.
Barresi and about the Avenged Sevenfold album, the last two, The Stage, and what's the Dream one? Crap.
I don't know. My
Life is
17-year-old
but a
could tell you
dream.
probably, but okay.
Life is but a
Gotcha.
dream. Now, I was listening to the drums very, very closely because this is what we were studying, and he uses a tiny bit of extension length reverb on the snare, and I don't know if I think it's coming from the room, particularly the room mics,
Okay.
but it's the most beautiful use of reverb on a snare that I'd ever heard. And now when I listen to albums, I'm looking for that. I'm hearing to see how
Mm-hmm.
they're treating the snare, you know,
That's
because I
cool.
love that.
The room reverb cannot be overstated. It's so good. There's an artist here that he goes by the moniker Elias Black, and the very first strike on his guitar. Oh, crazily enough, he
Crazily, I
was
like that.
crazily enough he was produced by the late great.
Oh,
Got it?
you're talking about the producer that just died, huh?
Yep.
My gosh, why can't I think of it?
I That's why I tossed it to you. I can't
One of my
remember his name
favorite
either.
producers. Who was it?
Let me. Ah,
You blindsided me with that one.
we need to cut this part out.
No, it's fine. Look it up. Let's see. Who was it?
DJ Clark Kent. Okay,
Right.
yeah,
Let's pull up
that's
that
not
exact
him.
thing.
Yeah, you got to cut this part out.
Sure.
But yeah, he was in Big Black.
Oh, Steve Albini. Thank you. All you had to do
Albini.
is say Big Black.
Yeah. Okay.
Steve Albini.
Why couldn't I
Okay.
remember his name? But anyway, he he moved to Chicago from Phoenix, and somehow he got Steve Albini to produce his stuff.
No way.
Yeah, and I actually had to double check with a guy that he played with in another band called The Strand, because I was like, how in the world did he get Steve Albini
Well,
to
I'll
do
tell
this?
you,
But
if you're
it was actually
familiar
him.
with any of his documentaries, he is extremely accessible. He will produce anyone, but he calls it engineering. He will engineer
Okay.
anyone because he's in his philosophy. He's just trying to capture the band. Okay, he doesn't quasi produce. Okay, so if you're willing to pay the bill, you could have
True.
Gottman's Steve Albini. Okay,
That's
that's how he operates.
that's a good point. Yeah, but he knows. Just back to that room reverb thing. The very first guitar strike on the album. It's a song he did. It's a song that Elias Black did. It's called Fire.
Mhm.
And just that first, I mean, it's not real heavy distortion or anything. It's more of kind of an overdrive-y type
Sure.
thing.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
just that room reverb makes it sound like you're there. And
Mhm.
it just the presence behind it is just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, Steve Albini, so.
Yeah. Well, and he's got that electrical audio studio. It's a lot of brick, and it's very ambient.
Is it?
It's a
That's what
element room
it's.
sound.
That's kind of what it sounded like, because there was a lot
Yeah.
of bounce back, but it wasn't. It sounded more like you're just in a rehearsal studio almost.
Yeah.
So it didn't sound like it was super overly treated
No,
or
minimal treating. Like if
yeah,
not very much at all, actually. You know.
that's great. So
I mean, that's a cool application of guitar rooms as well. And Joe does something very similar. He has two sets of room mics, dual pairs on each side of the room. Okay, one of the pairs is up high and they're aimed in toward the room. Okay, the other pair is facing the wall,
okay.
and they're about 8 inches away from the wall, facing the wall. Now, when we were doing cabs in the room, we were playing with those rooms. We would bring up the stereo pair that faces the room, and we would bring up the other pair that faces the wall, and then we would blend them. It was the coolest thing ever, and you're right, it
That's
gives
cool.
length and density and natural sounding ambience to your guitar cabs, and you just blend them into taste. It's very cool.
That's neat. Like you can feel the size of the room that you're in.
Yep. It gives
So
dimension to it. Front and back
that's
dimension for sure.
yeah.
What
Speaking of
else has been
which,
going on with Jeff? I didn't want to cut you off. Tell me what you want to tell me.
oh no, totally cool. Yeah, you told me to get this.
Yep. What do you
Uh,
think?
I haven't been able to mess with him yet, but this is for, a dual mic setup for those
Yep.
who might be watching this thing. So we can
Absolutely.
get the AC-15 into the mix. That's right here. So you could probably
Yeah.
get the Fender into the mix. Maybe even the Marshall, but I don't know. I haven't used that a whole lot.
So if
Um,
you're wanting something really gnarly, dirty, I would maybe consider blending the Marshall with the Fender or the Marshall with
That
the
would
Vox
work.
on an overdriven, even maybe distorted
Yeah.
sound. Try to blend those two. In that case, you could do one mic on the Marshall and then a one on, one off axis pair on either the Vox or the Fender, and blend those
Okay.
two together. That way you get the bottom end of the Marshall, and you'd get mid poke, and you'd get the top end. You'd get a lot of different range through that. That'd be cool. Try that.
Okay. What do you think about those Zoom recorders that have the XY mic on top? Hold on. Can you hold on for like 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay, one sec. Okay. Because I don't know how this would work, but it's got like one of these with the XY on top.
Oh yeah.
What
Yep.
what kind of if you stick that on a boom or something, how would that work? I mean, you can change this to like a 90 degree and a 120 degree field of capture, like
Sure.
each mic.
Yeah.
Do you think this would actually do kind of
So
a dual mic
people
setup on an amp
do a
or
configuration
not?
very, very similarly to that as a room setup, like on a drum kit. And I guess I
Okay.
speculate you could very well do it on a guitar setup too.
Okay.
But
I've done a
basically, you're
room
getting
setup,
a stereo room with it, but you're getting reflections left and right in the room. So it'd be kind of
right.
like I don't know the term off the top of my head, but yeah, we experimented with stuff like that in class actually.
Okay.
Really cool. I would say
It's
try
pretty cool.
it if you want to mic the room with it.
Okay. That'd be a good idea. That's what I recorded. You know the live track on the end of that Scheisse Katzen album?
Yeah.
Well, actually, let me show you again. This thing was super cool because it records to an SD card. So, you can throw the dead cat over those, but I use this as a room mic. Then it's got two XLRs and two more XLRs, and you can set the gain levels and whatnot, and it'll stem them out onto an SD card
No way. Wow.
that you can just throw into your DAW. So that's kind of how I did the live recording.
Wow, that turned out pretty good then. There you go. I mean,
It turned out
that's
all right.
really good, yeah.
It turned out all right.
Did you have to do much treatment in the box to it, or did you kind of just leave it raw?
Mostly raw. I did a little bit of EQ. Fitting that big massive crowd into my studio was hard to record their reaction.
Yeah.
But it turned out okay. Like, I don't even think I used the mic, the amp mic. Like, I want to say I just used the XYs on top, but just because it was a little too much a little too much to put the direct, like to put the cab mic in there. It was kind of weird, but anyway, it just kind of shake it around in the DAW a little bit, and it worked out. But
Cool.
But yeah, I'll see if I can do some room mic stuff, because it'd just be cool. It's cool for dimension and
Absolutely.
stuff like that.
I mean, you got that badass AC 15, so I mean,
it's
I
pretty
wanna hear
cool.
more of it. Yeah.
It's
That's a
nice. It's
great
so
sounding
heavy.
amp.
It's a heavy one. It's like 50 something pounds.
But yeah, if I had that amp. So I'm doing the same thing, one on, one off on my little Roland combo, and I use it for mid-poke and dimension and cleans. And, we did it with Brad's, what the hell does he have? Is it a Mesa Boogie combo? Oh gosh, I can't remember now. It's in those pictures of that recording session we were doing when we were tracking guitars with Brad.
Gotcha.
We did the same thing on that. We did it one on, one off, and I blended that with the Mesa Boogie and it's a Marshall tube combo thing. That's what he's got.
That's a Marshall? Okay.
Yeah. Is it?
Looks the one that's kind of beige.
Yep. What is that?
It almost looks like a Friedman or something. But yeah,
I can't remember what it is off the top of my.
I wouldn't be able to tell you, but
I've got pictures of it.
yeah, it's like further up in the feed, but okay. Oh yeah, cool shirt, by the way.
Yeah.
That's
Thank you. I love it.
I made 40
I don't like
of
to wash it. I just wear it till it gets like stiff. Then it holds my body figure better.
All right.
Just
Yeah, I
kidding.
made 20 of those ones and then 20 of a new one that looks like the hockey jersey. So
Cool.
it's pretty cool.
I would take one of those.
All right, we'll see. $20 and it's yours, including
Yeah,
shipping.
I'm a
But
player and a buyer. I'll support.
okay,
Yeah, here it is. No, that's the base.
okay. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. It's kind of a smaller. Is it like a 112? Or
Yeah, no, something like that. I mean,
okay.
oh, here it is. Here it is. I can't read it. What
Are you gonna hold it up to the camera?
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. The thing's awesome though, and it's loud as hell. But we didn't really blast it or anything. It just anyway. I'll leave it in the comments description.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
how was it interviewing with ZHZ? Shout out to those guys. What's up?
It's pretty cool. Yeah, yeah. Zach and Matt, they're the coolest dudes ever.
Mhm.
Like, they're fun. They're engaging. They're kind of they got a few under their belt now.
Yeah.
And they're pretty interesting to watch. Kind of cool to listen to other people's experiences on either on stage or in the studio working with other people. The ones that I like the most, there was one that I watched yesterday, and his tagline for it was something about trying to find that work-life balance with kids or
Yeah.
with children in the mix or something. So that immediately had me.
Right. Something you deal with.
Yeah,
on
it's
the daily.
it's hard. It's tough to do.
Yep.
But yeah, cool dudes, and I look forward to seeing more of their stuff.
Yeah.
I was the first. I want to say that I was the first one that they interviewed.
Really?
Yeah. So it was
Yeah.
before Matt was doing the hey, I'm asking the questions here, which is
Right.
awesome.
So you didn't get to do one of those.
I didn't get to do those, but now I kind of know the questions. Favorite food, Beatles or Elvis, so I would be anticipating those anyway now.
Which are
But,
you, Beatles or Elvis?
funny story. My mom told me that she was pregnant with me when she went to an Elvis concert.
Oh.
So Elvis,
Okay.
yeah, and
That's what my
listening to
daughter
Hound
Lauren
Dog,
would say. Lauren
yeah,
loves Elvis. Tara's a Beatles girl, and I've been into Beatles for a long time. Me and Tyler
yeah,
Super Toss it. What up, Tyler? We used to listen to the Beatles all the time, the psychedelic era, such as Rubber Soul, that album,
hmm
the White Album. Me and Chris Steele, too, Steely Jensen. What up, Chris? Yeah, he got me back into the White Album, too. That was fun.
cool. Yeah,
Like Beatles.
I think Elvis was probably the most influential on me because my mom liked Elvis a lot. She had a couple Beatles albums as well, but they never spun on the record player. Um, Elvis, I just remember listening to Hound Dog. I don't know if I had um, ADD or something, but I would just run around in circles. And my mom would always go, don't stomp too hard because the record would skip and
Right.
stuff like that. But little did I know, nowadays that's called circle pitting. Just do it with a few more people. There's your
Right.
circle pit.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a circle pit at an Elvis
There you go.
concert. I mean, if Elvis could come out of hiding or whatever's going on there, but
Yeah. I should mention I had a really nice Elvis Presley vinyl collection that my dad gave me, and there was a box set in there, one of the early box set releases that had
nice.
everything current up to that point, and plus some odds and ends. And I gave them to Lauren, so they're in
Okay.
her collection now. because she just loves Elvis. So I just told her, you know, take care of him. Don't get rid of him. Give him back if you want to get rid of him. But,
Yeah.
you know, she's got a little turntable, so.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, one thing that I've noticed, it's kind of funny, is whenever you do an interview with somebody, like a musician or whatever, or someone in their studio,
Mhm.
they always have the lights.
Yeah.
Like I've noticed Zach has them. I've noticed you've got them on your ceiling, right?
Yeah, I've got them all around the
Yeah.
room, pretty much.
Yeah, I've got them on my sound wall. And it just kind of, it was just kind of a funny observation.
I think
I don't know
us
if it's a mood lighting
artists
thing
like
or...
ambience. We like to get the mood.
Yeah, it's the ambience thing.
You know, we like
So,
that sort of thing. So
yeah,
must be why.
I'll turn them red, like when I'm doing vocals for something that has to be.
Yeah,
I'll turn
there
them
you go.
red or whatever.
All my stuff's orange right now in spirit of Halloween. So
Oh yeah, cool.
yeah.
I'll turn these orange. There, now we got them orange. I don't.
Yeah, I
think they're
thought your
very
interview was
orange,
really
but-
cool and interesting and fun. I liked it, and I enjoyed
was a-
mine. Did
Yeah,
you
the
notice
interview-
he did a couple cut down versions and he's releasing them on his new channel? So
Yes.
there's the
Yeah,
version
'cause
without
of the audio.
intro.
Yeah, right. He wasn't able to monetize. Even if he had his own music in there, he wasn't able to monetize it.
Why?
So, copyright, whatever.
Really?
Even if it's his own. I remember getting a copyright strike on a drone video that I made, that had my own music in it, and I'm like, okay,
I don't
whatever.
understand that. Why? That's weird. I was getting copy.
Yeah.
Do you remember when I put out that thing on Facebook? Because I was getting, I got taken
Yeah.
down for a minute
Yep.
because I was using my own music and it was published and copywritten and everything. And I'm like, what is going on here? I don't get it. And they just didn't put it together.
That's and they just say, "Oh, we got to play it safe. You know, we're not taking any chances." But whatever. I mean, it's free anyway to put the stuff up on YouTube. So, you know, who cares? But one funny thing though, since that podcast, because since it was so far back, like couple months, a lot has happened. Like, I almost didn't start working. Like you probably don't know this, but when you said, "Hey, I wanna do some music with you," at that, like, literally hours before you asked me, I was like, I gotta scale stuff back.
Really?
So, but it was funny because I started working on this instrumental thing. I knocked out an album in 7 days
Mm-hmm.
because there were
Cold
no
Circuit,
expectations. Yeah, it's called Cold Circuit. The album's called 7 days because the whole album was start to finish done in 7 days. Because
That's
I had
fun.
no expectations. I wanted to do the music, but I didn't want that stress or anything.
Mhm.
But when you called me, you go, I gotta work with you, dude. I have to.
Mhm.
And how you said that you wanted to hear what I could do when I was in a serious frame of mind,
Sure.
which usually when I'm in a serious frame of mind, it's either yelling into the microphone, or it's the like the Springtank stuff, like the kind of, you know, settled into the emotions type of stuff. But here's where Ariel's Bones comes in.
Yeah.
So that has since Zach's podcast, you know, I had that other album done, and then the Ariel's Bones thing come out, which had just been a concept by
Right.
the time that you know, that Zach and Matt got a hold of me.
I
But
love
dude,
that you have a unique focus on Ariel's Bones where you do all kinds of projects and everything's a little different, but the vibe of that is very focused and very unique to everything else you do. Same with me. Everything else I do, it's different than Ariel's Bones. which I love it.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah,
it's cool.
It's its own animal. It's not Scheisse Katzen, it's not Springtank. And I you asked me one time what genre we would call it, and I still haven't quite figured it out.
I know.
But yeah, it's kind of like a emo, dark wave industrial. That's like the best
Yeah.
I can
In
think.
fact, the new song we've been working on, Wine and Roses, is very reminiscent of the new romantic era, new wave, if you will. And I've shown it to a few friends, and that song has been market testing very well. It's
been doing all right.
Bunch of organic streams, and everyone I've showed it to really, really likes it.
Yeah, it's good. It's I don't know where all this stuff's coming from, but I think a lot of it has to do with that.
With that cat? With
No,
this?
that's the Scheisse Katzen stuff. But I think a lot of it has to do with the push that you gave me. The hey, I want to hear what you can do when you're serious about this.
Yeah.
So
also, don't you love that you don't really have to worry about the logistics of mixing and like
yes,
final details and minutia that you just kind of drives most people bonkers, that I kind of enjoy. I mean, that's what I trained in for years, was that mixing. I think I'm sort of finally starting to get a handle on things, but Nick loves that. Like when Nick sends me stuff that he wants final arrangement and mixing on, he loves it because he just sort of gets to keep writing.
Yeah,
you know?
it's nice because I think that's where I kind of fall flat on a lot of my production on my own, because I'll do a car test and I don't want to keep doing it over and over and over and over again, because I've done that before, and it was a EP that I did with an earlier band, Machine Fetish, but in my opinion, it wrecked all the edges off of the music.
Okay.
And I like those edges. You know, I think it gives it a little bit of not a danger feel, but kind of like if you pick up a piece of wood and it's got a bunch of splinters sticking off of it.
Right.
You know that if you don't handle it right, it's gonna poke you.
I think you're saying that you don't want it too polished. It's kind of like...
Yeah, I don't want it too polished because...
Kurt Cobain going back to Steve Albini after working with Butch Vig, because they decided they didn't want as much of a polished sound. They wanted to get back to basics and get raw again.
Exactly. That's why I'm doing that's the whole purpose of the pedal platform. Is to keep it as organic and as close to the original sound as possible. Because if I keep changing distortions through a VST, like a plugin, I'm like, do I like this one? It's okay. Or maybe I'll try this one. It's a little less. But the guitars were not meant to be played with an after effect.
Right.
In the stuff that I'm doing, at least. I'm just speaking for me, not anybody else.
Well, yeah, but, you're baking in your sound to your stems, to your tracks. You're already thinking that stuff out, and I get that. And a good mixer is going to be good at keeping the spirit of the song. But like you spoke about the car test, like this is the difference between static mixing and mixing. You know what I mean? Like you can't really get there with just static mixing to a point you can get to a pretty good place, but it really, I mean, the kind of aesthetic that I'm going for example, or the pros do, is not static by any means. And so now, I mean, when you do a lot of stuff like I do, treatments, parallel compression, stuff like that, you actually create yourself a problem first, and then you got to mix your way out of that problem, okay? So that's why it is more technical to do than just static mixing alone. But things jump out at you, like transients, snare, the kick, And what you'll notice in my mixing versus static mixing is when an instrument's being highlighted, it's not smearing out something else. Okay? You know, it's everything's going to have a presence if you do, if done right.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what you did to the guitar on Neurodivergent, but it's like amazing.
Well,
So,
thank you. I didn't
especially
do any effects. I just did parallel compression, and I just brought it up that way. And because once you start compressing the drums, well, if you don't start parallel compressing things like guitars and bass, well, they're not going to be able to compete with these giant drums. Like I said, I just created myself a big problem. Now I got to mix my way out of it. And that problem is I made the drums uber big and bombastic. Right?
That's your thing, man.
Totally.
That's what you do.
Dude, that's like Depeche Mode, Nine Inch Nails, Gary Newman, Perfect Circle, you know, the drums. It all starts there. That's your foundation, and then you have to mix to it. Now, I've learned something. I do drums and then vocals, and then I mix into that. I've learned to treat vocals earlier on in the mix.
I've been paying attention to some of the stuff that you do as well with the mixes. Traditionally, I've turned guitars way up, and I have the snare down a lot of times as well. With Wine and Roses, I pumped the snare up a bit, so I think that made tons of difference. And guitars, again, I would crank them too loud, and then it would just kind of wash everything else out. It would just kind of.
Let's talk about that. I mean, here's the thing. Like, you set a snare precedent, right? Well, a lot of times the vocal and the snare are right in around each other. In
pretty
pop
close.
music, the vocal's just above the snare. In a lot of heavy rock, the vocal's just below the snare. Now, having that said, guitars, for example, it doesn't always boil down to volume. It boils down to separation. It boils down to less smearing, more clarity equals volume. So it's not how much volume you need. It's how much separation, space, and clarity. And I've learned to do that, and that's why your guitars are way out here,
they're clear off to the
drums are right here, and your synths are kind of around here.
Yeah, volume wise, I would turn up, because I would separate the guitar tracks a lot. I'd maybe do like 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock, somewhere around there. But volume wise, I just had them too loud. And after listening to your stuff, or the way that you mix it, separation's massive. But in the submixes or the demos that I give to you, I just kind of treat the guitars like I would treat a synth pad.
Sure.
Like I'll turn it down a bit just so it's more of a foundational level. It's kind of weird because I would treat them as a lead, even
I
over
like
vocals.
what you're doing. Because it's kind of like having a static mix, and then it's informing me, right? So I just take that and I run with it, and I do my thing. But Nick does the same thing. His static mixes are just informative of kind of what he's thinking.
Yeah, I'll leave all the EQ out of those mixes just because that's your part. You know.
Now, I never heard any issues with your static mixing as far as like Scheisse Katzen, Springtank. I mean, you do a good job. There's nothing that ever
that's
pulls
all
you out of the listen.
That's pretty much all.
You know what I mean by like, there's this major guitar in, and all of a sudden the kick's not what it was when it was just right. That's the difference between like parallel compression and static mixing. Is you can't really ever, if done right and spaced right, the smearing goes away.
Yeah, I still need to learn some of that. So, but I'm paying attention.
Good. Yeah, it's fun. I've been working on the Apophis stuff, and Every time a
That's
project
good.
comes around, I get better
Good
and
stuff.
better, and I'm thinking about things in a more detailed fashion, you know. Oh my gosh, speaking of that, did you listen to Nick's remix of Warpaint? I just mixed it. He sent it to me straight static, but
Okay.
I was blown away when I heard those vocals. Oh my gosh.
Cool.
If you haven't listened to it, you got to.
I don't think I've listened to Warpaint. I've listened to Space Station a couple times. That's my favorite track off the album.
The remix, did you listen to the Space Station remix?
Yeah, I listened to the Space Station remix as well.
It's different, huh? It's trippy.
It's way different.
Yeah, it's cool.
But it's like you can tell where your influences come from on these remixes. That's probably the thing that stands out the most.
Sure.
So
absolutely.
That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah.
Totally. I showed it to Trevor, and he called it, dude. He goes, dude, Gary Newman. I go, yeah. I mean, some of his modern stuff, you know what I mean? But it's still a throwback.
Yeah.
You know?
He's got okay, a couple things. Okay, this is an unpopular take about Gary Newman I got. Because I got into him like pretty heavy at about 92. Before he retired his first time and came back out and didn't tell anyone, and I'm in a record store and I'm like, what's this new album? It was when Sacrifice came out, and I'm like, what's this? Because I knew all of them.
Freaking love that album.
Yeah, it's a fantastic album, but everything's kind of starting to sound the same with him now.
Yeah, I mean, I have the newer album too, and I do like it, but yeah.
I mean, it's good, but it's the same good all the time. It's not a different good all the time yet.
Right.
I think he has gotten a little better over the past like one or two albums, but he found that he found the niche. Most importantly, I mean, being a career musician, he found the following. Because I guess if that's what you're shooting for, once you find it, you don't want to stray.
I know what you mean.
Look at Chili Peppers and Metallica,
Yeah, he found a new formula, and he sort of stuck with it ever since.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, which a lot of people don't even know that he reinvented himself and got a current formula going to begin with, like Sacrifice and Savage. And I mean, that stuff, it's incredible. I told Nick about it, and he's like, what? Gary Newman's got, yeah, dude. And then listen to it because it really is amazing.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to the new stuff, it'll blow you away. But I mean, like I said, the formula, if take a shot every time you hear him say "for you" at the end of a line.
Right.
You're going to be obliterated by the end of the album.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, it's an interesting take on that for sure. But he was the first one to interject like throwback new wave, dark wave back into what he was doing with maybe some industrial elements and keeping a bit of rock backbeat going and things of that nature. I mean, it was said in a Trent Reznor interview that Trent Reznor and a Gary Newman interview, by the way, that Trent Reznor directly influenced Gary Newman, but prior to that, a decade later,
it was the other way.
Gary Newman influenced Trent Reznor, and then he reciprocated, which I think is awesome.
I think it's awesome as well, because there's no limit to where that influence can go. It just keeps
old
going
is new,
on.
what's new is old. Yeah, it's like recycling things, and it's all coming around.
Yeah,
I love it.
So it's all right.
That's Ariel's Bones for you. It's got a lot of that throwback vibe to it, which I love.
It's got some throwback to it.
Totally.
I want to try to put some more kind of drum loopy type stuff in there in places, just to kind of lo-fi it out, just to kind of like a mid pass or a high, mid to high pass type of thing. So it's just kind of in the background hanging out.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think we're already doing that. I mean, we already did the 8-bit crush on...
the Bit Crush drums.
Yeah. What was
just
that
to kind of give it that retro feel. Simple Simon.
Simple Simon, thank you. And that, you actually informed me that idea that was Saturday night, like really late, and I was like studying mixes, and I was actually working late, and I had this idea, and that's what it informed it was like, okay, the intro verse is like big, bombastic, normal, and then when you hit the chorus, it flips the opposite way, and then it's Bit Crush, and it's like, you know, way lo-fi for the chorus. And I'd been listening to a lot of crosses, and dude, there's a lot of that flipperoo going on there, and that's what that's why I told you, like, in the next write, think about that, and let's try it. Let's try something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Oh, will we?
Yeah, we will. But
you
I
will
think
do it. You will
your mind
do
tricks
that.
do not work on me. But the music just kind of comes as it comes.
I know.
You know,
but
I'm
like
open
having things
to
in mind.
everything.
Listen, I'm just saying.
But
you know, not to be too precious, but just having these things in mind, it's quite easy.
Oh
to
yeah, I got them in mind. Yeah, for sure. And they can be added in different parts.
Yeah, I just want to try something like that
at all.
And I think it's really cool vibe.
Yeah, I think that'll kind of be more of a, maybe a little more in post though.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, I usually don't try to aim for certain directions.
Yeah.
But I'll just kind of make up, like I told Zach, I'll make
well,
up.
I've got it in mind. So, I mean, we can make it happen when in a tasteful way, when duty calls, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, like I told Zach in the interview, like I'll hear the whole song in my head, and then I'll just kind of do a cover of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of don't, so I don't really aim for a certain production value or you know, direction or whatnot.
Right.
But it just kind of is there. So
that's exactly what's going on. I mean, that's correct. That's what I want. It's like you're just paintbrushing, and then I'm kind of helping you shape it. Nick and I, you know, goes to Nick.
Yeah,
Nick sort of, your writing informs him, and then he sends it to me, and then that informs me, and then the shaping occurs while trying to keep the spirit of the song.
Yeah, that's the perfect explanation of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do want to give a huge shout out to Nick, dude.
Absolutely.
I want more people to pay attention to what he's doing. Like, if they're familiar with my stuff and your stuff, I want them to also be familiar with Nick's stuff. Yeah. Especially his bass. I don't know how he gets that tone.
He's come
and he's very good.
He's come into himself on bass playing for sure.
It's so good.
It's really good, yeah. That's why on your new song, I really want Nick to get his hands on it, because I think he would give it the exact bass line it needs before I really start putting my hands on it. I'd rather him. And he's moving right now, so he needs like a month, basically. But he'll be back up and running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, his bass lines are they have so much groove in them. And the way he dials in the tone, it reminds me a lot of Tool.
Yeah.
Not the playing per se, because I think the playing is probably, I think the playing is better than Tool.
A lot of people might disagree. I mean, Justin Chancellor is literally one of the greatest bass players ever. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that would fit in this.
For sure. It's a different style. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a different style.
But there are nuances that are similar, for sure.
Yeah. So the tone that he grabs out of that quad cable,
he does.
It's good.
Give good tone in his stems. I tend to accentuate 4K and 2.6, and then I pull out 335, and then I boost 70 to 80. So I'm putting a smiley face on it because I love the high end of his bass. It brings out the strings and the picking, and that's part of post, but he does give me very good tones to work with, for sure.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So, and his vocals are good as well. Like, he has the kind of like a mysterious quality to his vocals, which is alluring. Like you kind of want to, you want to hear more because you want to figure out more. That's the best way I can describe it, and I
Sure.
think it's great.
It's got a
'Cause with-
melancholy a melancholy quality to it as well.
A little bit of melancholy, yeah. Like with mine, I'm kind
So
of
do you a little
it, but-
actually, but you have quite a few dimensions going on at once, which makes it really alluring. But if you haven't, and you people haven't listened to Warpaint Remix, oh my gosh, his vocals are incredible. Dude, it could be an a cappella track, and I might talk him into just stripping the music out and doing a 2-minute a cappella version of it, because it's that good. He's doing harmonies, and it's so good.
Send me just his vocal tracks. I want to see if I can do something kind of cold circuit-ish behind it.
Okay.
I think that'd be cool. So,
okay. I'll just give you access to
I think it'd be
the
fun.
folder on my G drive, but it is in 48 and 32. So do I need to convert it for you?
I don't know. I've never tried to convert them down before. It should be fine. I could probably convert them in iTunes or something like that.
I'll
figure it
convert it
out
for you in Pro Tools. It's not a big deal. But that brings me to, I want to talk about your vocals in Wine and Roses too. Holy.
Okay.
You
like 'em?
Yeah.
Are they okay?
So you are singing really, really well as well. And I don't know if you're just getting there.
Appreciate
now.
it.
I mean, you've been getting there this whole project, but that one in particular, it's just got so much, you just left it out on the table, you know?
It's a very emotional song. Like it's about some stuff going on back up in Utah. Like that's about where I'll leave it.
Yeah, I mean,
but,
if you want to, I like to. There's two ways to look at it. Either let the listener build their own perception of the lyrics, or give them hints and let them have it. I mean, whatever.
That's why I don't want to go too far into it. Yeah, because if it means something different to somebody else, I don't want to ruin their experience with. No, you're not interpreting the song right.
Sure.
Which is terrible to do.
I like
but,
that. There's a vulnerability.
It's a meaningful one.
You expose and it's relatable. It's a really emotional content, relatable song. And I think that's why it's market testing so well.
Yeah. Well, it's done in a way that you can either view it from first person, like, oh, I've done this, and this is how I can relate to the song. Or you can listen to it as like in a third person, like this person has done something terrible and I feel bad for them, or I'm hating what's gonna happen that I know is gonna happen, or something like that. So it's got kind of a helpless vibe to it, no matter which way you're listening to it from.
Yeah, and that is sort of the hallmark of relatable, real good songs, is just that. I think maybe, I mean,
cool,
the first time you heard Depeche Mode Violator, like World in My Eyes or Personal Jesus, or, I mean, it's gripping because you're relating it to your own life and it becomes yours.
Yeah, everybody's got a song that they grasp onto.
So naturally, when I was mixing Wine and Roses, I know you now, and I know your mind, but I'm still making it mine. It's sort of relating to it in my own way, and it becomes mine.
That's perfect.
That's a hallmark of a great song, dude.
That's perfect, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, without you and Trevor, dude, I would just be doing car tests still, and.
You mean Nick? But shout out Trevor.
or Trevor. Yeah, Nick. I'm sorry.
I guarantee he'll be
Trevor's
mastering
coming.
this.
He's coming.
Yeah, he's going to master this. He actually did a really good job on Freak Breed remixed. I had to make him go back and do a couple revisions because I just really wanted some attacky transients on it, and I felt like he thought that he needed to tame them more than he needed to, but we got it figured out. It's going to be really good, dude, if it ever comes out.
It will. I mean, don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, yeah.
Like I'll do this as well. I'll try to set timelines for myself or deadlines for myself to have something done by. Like last year in October, since it was a Friday the 13th in October, which doesn't happen that often, you know.
That was trippy.
I was like, ooh, here we go. So I had three albums come out that day.
Yeah.
But setting that pressure and that deadline on myself, I started to look more at the deadline. I started to look that way instead of looking at my DAW or the guitar or whatever.
Yeah.
So it just kind of put my focus a little bit.
No, you're absolutely right.
Been,
but I think if you don't set a goal or a deadline, then you could just end up mixing in circles for months.
Forever and ever.
So I'm learning how to get to the finish line more efficiently. And that's sort of, you know, my goal ultimately.
Yeah, I was going to, kind of along that same thing, I was going to say urgency is a good emotion to have in the music as well. So a deadline of sorts, like when I write in my house, I'll usually do a demo in a day or two, maybe, you know, kind of start to finish recording. And I don't like that. Like the album that I told you about, the Machine Fetish album that just kind of got produced and all the rough edges fell apart. Like all the urgency of the music just collapsed. And the songs are so good.
You know, you bring up a point that's kind of one of the benefits of having, and not everyone can do this, but having somebody else mix for you can keep that intact a lot of times. As long as they're not taking you out in the weeds, they have to have a vision for what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. And I think you guys are doing awesome at that. I mean, it's things that I wouldn't be doing on my own. So, you know, if I were trying to do this thing on my own, maybe it'd be another Springtank album or whatever. But this is different. It's different elements. It's different music. And it's stuff that I can't do. So, first off,
that's the beauty of collaboration. I mean, everyone's going to bring something to the table that you can't all just do yourself sometimes.
Well,
you know?
Collaborating with someone good. That's what I want to add that.
Or that share the vision.
Yeah, or that share the vision.
Starts there, I think.
Because I've worked with other people, and I'm talking like way far back, like 20 plus years.
Sure.
And, you know, we've had this conversation before. I don't want to get too far into it because it will just kind of go way off and just talk about that for the rest of this. But you know, I've played with people who are okay, and I've played with some people who are not that okay. And to be, you know, collaborative with people who know what they're doing and they have their specialties, that's like gold.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But I know it sounds really cliche how I'm saying this whole
There's
thing.
two things that I want to mention
There's
that go along
synergy
with this.
in there.
Yes. So the first one is the reason I even came to you was because I understood your vision for what you were doing. The Scheisse Katzen and the Springtank. I'm like, I could see in the door window of your mind. And I'm like, okay, I understand his vision. And it's number one. And then secondly is you got to have a vision, right? It's something I was speaking with some of my workshop classmates in August was one of the students was having an issue with just mixing in circles or never ever being able to complete anything. And I basically said, do you have a vision for this? And she's like, yeah, I got vision for days. I got vision. But are you focusing your vision? Are you having a clear vision of where you want to get? Because if you don't have a clear vision of where you want to get, you're never going to get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it'll never be finished.
So having a vision to begin with, a clear vision, it starts there. I really feel I feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Whether your vision informs mine or your vision informs Nick and then his vision informs me, it doesn't matter, right? There's a million ways to get to that vision, but you have to have it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With the other stuff that I did, like the Scheisse Katzen stuff, I think my vision only went as far as a couple days out. Like the end of the recording session kind of and mastering session, but
That's still a form of a vision. It's just a more spontaneous
it's a
one.
form of it. Yeah, it's a very spontaneous vision because I don't do usually when I record guitars, I never go back and change them. Like
Right.
never.
Another reason to have somebody else mix or be involved in the production, because Nick says the same thing. Yeah, he put it this way, his attention span is limited, right?
Yes.
So he
That's
can
exactly
write,
it.
but I don't think he
Yeah.
really wants to deal with the minutia, the final arrangement, the final mixing, the dotting the I's, the crossing the T's. And I have some strange ability to not get burned out on that stuff for a long time, so I can sit and get detailed with it for quite a long time. And
It's
so
refreshing. That's all I
that's
gotta
where-
say.
I mentioned it to you. I said next Springtank album you write, maybe let me have a whack at mixing it, because then
I'd be cool with that.
it would be that grandiose vision of what you've got in your head, and also where I think I might be able to take it, you know, while trying to keep the spirit of the music of the songs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it
I'd
would
be cool
probably
with
be
that.
different than Ariel's Bones for sure, because I would have to
Yeah.
reel it in and keep it in the indie rock post, you know.
Right. And it wouldn't call for the drum treatments that you usually do. Like in Ariel's Bones, it's got its own particular
Sure.
treatment.
Oh yeah, and that's
But
what
Springtank
in
is
my
more
mind
indie,
it's
like you
calling
said.
for. You know, I'm sort of chasing like
Yep.
an aesthetic that the music is screaming at me that it wants. So it's gonna always be
Right.
different. You know, it depends on the material.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There'd just be stuff that maybe you and I agree that maybe we want live drums on it.
I'd be cool with that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, if you want, go for it, man. I mean, like the talk that we had at the beginning was, hey, basically to crunch it all down is 3 people now, not 1. So you know, don't expect for it to sound a certain way from start to finish. Was kind of the point of that very first phone call that we had.
Right.
And I said, yeah, I get it, because this is where it's a collaboration, and we each have our own special set of skills. I'm starting to sound like Liam Neeson here, but and what might sound good to one person, because you know this, and pretty much all other musicians know this. When they do a song, it probably sounds like crap to the rest of the world before it's finished, because the person who wrote it can keep hearing things that haven't actually been recorded to the song.
Right.
They keep hearing harmonies that couldn't go along with the vocals, for instance.
That's the vision we were
and they're
talking
not
about.
recorded. Yeah, they're just in the writer's head.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest secrets of a songwriter, and why they're so tortured all the time, is because they can hear the greatness of this stuff that actually doesn't exist in the actual product. So realizing that, you know, I'm not immune to it. So realizing that is where the collaboration with you guys comes in.
Yeah.
Because you guys can pull this out. And it's not going to sound the same because I didn't record it that way. You know, that's where you guys come in and fill out that, like you said, the vision and the greatness that the song can actually have.
Well, I hope you're
yeah.
starting to gain the trust, you know,
Oh, dude.
versus,
Yeah.
you know, like in the beginning it was like, you know, all of us, we can't be too precious, because If you're
Exactly.
serving
Yeah.
the song, oftentimes things are going to be different and change, but you have to trust yourself that you have a deep enough catalog of influences to pull from. Like you and myself, we're music lovers. I absorb a lot of music, and I use all that as influence for aesthetics and approaches and different things.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think to be a good producer, mixer, musician, you have to have that deep catalog of influence to pull from, you know?
Yeah. If I call it just ripping other artists off.
Yeah.
Because
You
I'll
did
hear
talk about a lot.
I'll hear their
Good
techniques,
artists
and I'm like,
borrow,
that's good, I'll take it.
great artists steal.
Yeah. That's Salvador Dali, I think, who said that.
Sure.
I think it was.
It's talked about a lot in the community, you know,
Yeah.
but like if Nick writes something and I just let it inform me and I ask myself, what does this sound like to me? And then I go there and then I draw inspiration from that. It's kind of like movie scoring. It's like filmmaking. It's like, I mean, there's all these parallels, but that's what it is. It's like your stuff too. Like, oh, what does this remind me of? Oh, this kind of reminds me of, not to beat it to death, but Gary Newman, Depeche Mode. Okay, well, I'm going to go in there. What does that sound like? Let's draw some inspiration from that, you know?
Yeah, I've drawn a lot from Gary Newman over the years. I've tried to draw a lot. There's a band called Bass Drum of Death. They're like garage punk type stuff. I saw them open up for Royal Blood a few years back, and I was like, whoa, these guys are something special. So I listened to them a lot. I think that's where a lot of the baked in ideas come from with the tracks. Because they just, dude, they just kill it. And the way that everything is played, the spirit in which it's played as well, I think that's one of the biggest things. So,
well, Zach and I talked about it. It'd be very difficult to remove the soul spirit from your particular writing sounds and stuff and aesthetics, because it's just baked into nobody's business, you know. So I'm just sort of trying to embellish in the right areas.
that's
of that.
kind of, yeah, but
You
it's
know,
working.
But it will
Dude.
always be there because it's almost.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is. You know, you sort of have your signature sound, and I kind of course, I want to work around that. You know.
Yeah. It's sounding good. One thing that I was gonna ask, when I send a demo, do you like? I mean, either way you answer, it doesn't bother me. But when I send a demo, do you listen to it, or do you wait
Absolutely.
until Nick takes? Okay, I just didn't know if you waited until Nick got his hands on it first, then he sent you what he had. Like, I didn't know kind of what the.
To be honest, I've done it both ways.
Both ways.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a couple like Neurodivergent. I don't even think I listened to your static mix of
the
that.
original.
Yeah, the demo.
Okay.
I just and the new one though is a good example.
I know you listened to that one.
I listened to that one, and the same process happens though. Things start popping in my head, and the vision starts to broaden, and I sort of already know what to do when I get it.
What you want to do. That one's going to be good. I think I want to change the name of it, though, because the name is too direct. I kind of want to change it to...
I don't think I'd be doing my job if I didn't say this on a production standpoint.
Okay.
I want you to maybe do a version of the verses that are singing as well, just to see.
Okay.
Like, what if you did the rhythm, the rhythmic singing, and then it broke into singing verse, and then because that chorus is so awesome,
it's
good.
It's kind of good.
I just want you to maybe consider. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say consider maybe singing them.
Okay.
And give me another version of those verses. I like them. Don't get me
I'll
wrong.
see. I mean,
It might
I don't know
fit
if it
ultimately the aesthetic better. Maybe. You don't know until you try. It's hard to say
yeah.
without knowing.
I just can't, at this point, I can't see it making,
Because it's too many words. I know. You'd have to cut words out.
not too many words, because
Okay.
it can be sung, not a problem.
Right.
But I just don't know if the message would come across if it was being sung. Because basically I drew a lot of inspiration from Killer Mike. From how we would sing. The music's in 4/4, but he'd rap in triplets. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na-na-na. That's kind of what I used as a template.
I actually like it, and I know I can make it work, and I have a couple ideas of how to treat it, but I'm hearing it both ways.
I don't know. At this point, because the spirit of the song is just kind of got to start off with kind of quiet exasperation, and I don't know how that would really work as far as translating into something singing is going on.
I like that.
I mean,
part
I'm
too.
not against it, but I'm not
like
against
that
it at
part.
all. But
The way it intros, I love that.
but
I think it would work. I don't think there's any limits or rules. I think it just might be a matter of trying it.
yeah,
Because you're such a good singer. I know you'd figure it out. But
well, it's based more on a conversation than it is a story. So I think that's why the speaking rapping type of thing translates for me best at this point.
And the listener, we're talking about something that is still in very early demo stages. So
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
they're not
very
even gonna know
early
what the hell we're
demo.
talking about.
It's gonna be really good though.
But it is. It's gonna be sick, and I freaking love that chorus. Like with everything I've got, it's so good. The harmonies and how it just blossoms. It's incredible.
It's a good flourish.
And Ariel's Bones is up to how many songs? Are we at 5? This would be 6.
Yeah, this will be 6. If we throw that instrumental in, that should be 7.
Yeah. Yep. And while Nick's moving, I mean, if you can get around to just keep writing, just keep writing.
Yeah. Well, my shift is changing to where I'm
nice
gonna
to have
3
10 or
days off
11
now.
But
That would be ideal. But my shift is changing, so I'm gonna have 3 days off a week now instead of 2. So hopefully I'll have a little more juice to work with, a little more time to work
that'll
with.
be good for the creative process, huh?
Yeah, because that's how all of the Scheisse Katzen and Springtank stuff came out. Is when I was on a 4/10 shift instead of 5/8, because rest one day I'm like, oh, work sucked this week, okay, and then the next day I'm like, all right, I'm bored now. Let's write a song. So this, I'm hoping that it'll work out the same way.
Well, don't they kind of build up to you as well? I know that kind of on a different scale that happens with me. They sort of build up, and then they just sort of, you have to unleash them,
The build up, because I know exactly what you're talking about. The build up usually only starts maybe the night before I actually hit the studio. Like I've got that short attention span that we talked about,
right?
Like that you said that Nick kind of has. That's why I can only work on a song for like a day, because the next day it's a completely different situation.
Now
that
we're
I'm probably not feeling the
musicians,
vibe on.
artists, so our short attention span is still lengths and lengths longer than most people's attention span, just for the record. You know what I mean? Or else we wouldn't be able to get anything done.
Well, also it depends on what happens along the way during that attention span. Because like I've had a time when I've been working on a song about a certain situation, I'm pounding it for like 4 hours. I think it was because some girl was, I don't know. It was one of those things. But about 4 hours into this, I'm writing one of the coolest songs I've heard. She calls and, apologizes or something. I can't remember. This was like 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
But after that phone call, I'm like, this song's no good anymore, because, you know, the whole attention span, the whole vibe changed it.
Well,
So
I know
I can't
you've
continue
learned from
on.
that. You like to work quick, and you like to stay in the moment.
I
You
have
like
to.
to keep the brushes wet and just go and go.
Yeah.
And yeah, I
Yeah.
understand that 100%.
Yeah, I can't change my mindset.
It can be very difficult to go
Can't come
back
back in.
and relook and change something later because you've already experienced it. And on
Exactly.
that same
It's in the
token,
past.
I
Yeah.
was talking to a good friend of mine, Billy Como, shout out, and we were talking about you both and I work. You know, we work whatever hours we work a week, and then we
Mm-hmm.
work in the studio, and it seems like it'd be a lot of work. Okay, and he's like, well, you know, you're working a lot, and I'm just sort of like enjoying life right now. And I said, no, that's awesome, but here's the thing, bro. Like, the studio, it's not work. It's experience. You're experiencing something. You're channeling something. You go in
Mm-hmm.
one point A and you come out point B. So in the blink of an eye, you just had an experience. It doesn't feel like work when you're in it, does it?
Not really. Yeah, it's more of a therapeutic thing, except for you are your own therapist. So, in my opinion, it's better than therapy, because the therapist is doing it for the money. And if you are doing it, if you are being your own therapist and you set up everything exactly how you know you need it to be, you know, catharsis for whatever, that's better than anything, dude.
Yeah.
So,
You nailed it. And that's how I feel about it, as I feel like I'm gaining experience, life experience. You know, I'm chasing the
mhm.
muse, and I have a deep connection with that muse. And I think I've heard a lot of people say this on the other podcasts I watch, but if you ignore the muse, you risk losing the muse.
Yeah, the
So the
muse will ignore you.
subconscious is always listening to the muse. And so if she says, I need to work on this, or I need to do that, or get this idea out, if I don't do it, I feel like I'm not doing myself a service, and I might risk losing the muse.
Mhm. One thing, it just clicked with me while you were saying that. I think you and I are a lot alike in this sense that we don't like to leave work unfinished. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I don't want to leave
Okay.
anything on the table.
Like, okay, yeah, that's exactly how I am with that.
Yeah.
So ignoring that muse, yeah, the muse will ignore you, because it just kind of all floats away, because other things, you know, other influences enter your head and cloud your vision to that muse. So
Yep.
it's gone.
Yeah. There's no better time than to write a record than now. You know, we have
Right.
the support system, we have the collaboration system, we have the
Hmm.
resources.
Yeah,
There's no excuse,
technology.
you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
And
Yep, everything's affordable now. Remember when an 8-track tape recorder cost like $1,000?
yep, I had
Now it
a
comes free with the computer, and it's like
8-track digital hard
unlimited.
disk I paid $1,000 for.
Yeah, I
That
had
was my
a
first digital recording
4-track.
medium.
Yeah, yeah. I had I think my first digital one was a 4-track Fostex, and then it had an external jazz drive on it. So like the iOmega jazz drive,
Yeah, I remember those. You could back them up
and
on jazz
it's
drives.
terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible, but
Yeah. We've hit everything naturally, just organically hit everything that I had outlined. There's one
okay,
last one.
sure.
What's in the future for Damage Auditorium, L-Town Productions Studios, Revelator Records, Landmine Studios? What else do we think we want to accomplish while in this
Well,
race of time?
well, I want my cat to not try to scratch its claws on my speaker. Come on. Ah, Brad, come on.
What's his name? Rad or Brad?
This one's named Brad.
Oh, Brad. So like after Brad Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this
Shout
is
out
before
Brad
I
Lewis.
even.
He named his
This
cat
is
after
this
the-
is before
oh.
I even. No, my son named him Brad.
Oh, cool.
But Yeah, shout out to Brad Lewis.
Yep.
So, but the future, well, when my kids get old enough, hopefully I'm going to be able to use one of their rooms as a studio, because that way I can set up my drums. I can have a little more room to work around, because I keep banging my headstock of the guitar into walls or, speakers or whatever, and that kind of sucks. Plus it gets hot in here. That way is west. So when the sun comes over, and this is the outside wall of my house right here.
Okay.
And it's an addition. My studio is an addition to the house. So there's not really an attic in the ceiling. It's just kind of flat against, the supports and whatnot. So it gets really, really hot in here. So I can't work in here at night. Of course, I could turn a fan on, but then the mic is going to pick it all up, and it doesn't really work too well. But it gets, 120 degrees outside. So hopefully I can move all this stuff into that side of the house.
That would be cool.
Into one of the bedrooms, so it stays a little cooler. Set up the drum set, because I'll have a little more space. Because I have an acoustic set and an electric kit, like a Roland kit.
Cool. Are you pretty proficient on drums?
Dying to play them. Before I started doing the deep dive into guitar, I was trying to do the deep dive on the drums. I don't think I'm proficient in them, but I'd be able to, I'd be able to record and whatnot. I've recorded with them a couple times, but I didn't know how to set up the mics, so it just sounded like banging on plastic, whatever. But yeah, I could probably, depending on the type of music, I could probably gig.
Yeah.
But,
well, I feel like you and I similarly, there's a deep legacy there that is still being created as we speak now, and you've got future projects kicking around in your brain, I know, and I just want to see it. I want to see more of it. Do you not think ahead like I do? Like, I'm already thinking way ahead. I've got enough work to finish out this next year, but I want more. I need to know what else is going on.
Well, I try not to think ahead because I don't know what's going to happen in the future.
That's funny to me. Facetiously, I laugh, but yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would like to do a whole lot more music, and I plan on it, because right now, just everything that's going on musically is going way better than I ever thought that I could, that it was going. I mean, dude, I got songs on the radio this year, and they were played without me even asking.
You've got a deep catalog of material. You've got songs on the radio.
Really
you've got
deep catalog,
projects
but
working. You've got there's all kinds of good stuff going on.
Yeah, but as far as plans are concerned to keep going, literally, I just take it day by day. I mean, like I said, when that first stirring happens, when you're like, ooh, that, I know this feeling. This is the Muse. Again, that only happens like the night before I go into a studio. So I can't really anticipate even a single song in the future.
Well,
I know they'll come.
They will, I promise you.
But I can't plan on it. Yeah.
You can take the musician out of the studio, but you can't take the music out of the musician. Okay.
Right.
But I implore you, I mean, I want to help you with drum work, live drums. If you do another Springtank album, let's maybe consider, program it like you normally would. Let me do some live drums on it. Let me session for you. Let me mix it. But let's explore other ideas too, and let's get Ariel's bones going. I'm excited for this project.
It's going to be... I hate saying that, it's going to be such a banger, because everyone says that about their albums. But as having done recordings for years, a couple decades, I'm old, like 3 decades. Um, this one's something special. The Ariel's
Yeah.
Bones one is something special.
I agree.
There's something. I mean, I don't know if it's because you and Nick are in there,
Totally it is.
but it's well, I mean, seriously, it's got to be.
No,
I
I'm
already
serious
know
too, because dude, it's
what-
your
there's
writing
something special
kind
about
of
it.
taken to the level that I envisioned it being taken to, and I think that's what we're doing. I think it's freaking magic. I love it. It's sick.
It is. There's something special with it. You know what you're doing. Nick knows what he's doing. I kind of know what I'm doing.
You know what you're doing.
I'll
You know
patch
what
it
you're
together, but
I mean, there's those little nudges, you know, of creativity and nuggets of like the AC-15, and I just love it. I love what you're doing,
Yeah.
and I just wanna, what's the word? I don't know what the word is. Exploit you in a way that you've never been exploited before. And that's it. That's the word. I'm trying to exploit your genius. I love your brain.
Okay.
Remember, did you hear me say that
Thanks,
on
man.
Facebook the other day? I just
yeah,
love
with
your brain.
the stupid post things that I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the music, like back to that Beatles versus Elvis thing. Just for everyone else, they found John Lennon's AC-15 amp like
No
last
way.
December. Yeah, and I think I just made a quick mention of it a couple times ago when we were talking, but yeah, they found
Sure.
John Lennon's AC-15.
You and I did talk about that a little bit. That's incredible.
Yeah, so going back to the baked in sounds, we're
Yeah.
gonna resurrect the AC-15.
How much do you think that
and,
is going to go for?
I'm thinking at least 200 grand, quarter
Really?
million. Dude, well, apparently they used it in the tavern, I think is what it was.
Wow.
Like that tavern show.
If I had to throw a number out, I would agree with you. Maybe up to $1 million, maybe more. Who knows, dude? I mean, that's an incredible
Possible.
piece of history, dude.
Yeah, but I guess it was seriously just kicking around and, kind of beat up. But a couple of guys saw it on one of the music gear auction sites, and they looked at the serial number and they were like, no way. And two guys found out. So they were outbidding each other because they both knew what it was, but nobody
Wow.
else did. So it was just these two guys fighting. And I guess it went for somewhere, I want to say it was around 12 or 15K.
Wow.
But yeah, it's crazy. So it's substantiated by a serial number and everything. And then
Wow.
they refurbished it or restored it
Incredible.
to how it
That'd be
was.
so
And
cool.
so yeah, and apparently Love Me Do was recorded on that amp.
Mm.
And shoot, I can't remember the other one, but it was like
Well,
the
hey.
early stuff. So
Speaking of celebrity news, I mean, you've been following the P. Diddy scandal, right?
you were at one of those freak offs?
No. I wish. No. I'm kidding. Well, did you hear what Stevie Wonder said about it?
Yes. I
What?
Go ahead. Nope. Go ahead.
I didn't see anything.
Yeah. No.
Thanks for humoring me on that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
He humored me on that. All right. Closing comments. And that's news and other. We're an hour and a half right now.
Oh man. Okay.
This has been fun.
Yeah,
goodbye.
man. Dude, we'll see what happens. I'll be submitting the Scheisse Katzen song to that contest hopefully this week. The radio station hasn't told me when the deadline is to submit it, which is scary because last year they filled up in like 30 seconds, literally. Because he says, okay, 6 a.m. on this date. That's the earliest I'm going to take submissions. If you're before, I'm deleting the email. But he hasn't said when that deadline is. So
Okay.
hopefully, I've emailed him twice. I've checked their website. So I don't know. Hopefully I can get this in.
Hopefully, man. It's
It'd be neat to play a
highly
show.
likely to get that again. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Fucking way run.
All right. Yeah, it's gone on way too long. I doubt anybody has finished
No,
this.
it's fine. Well, a couple other news things. I got to figure out what's going on with Freak Breed Remixed. I sent an email to get an update. Was supposed to come out today, did not. Figure that out. Ariel's Bones has got another song or two in the works. One of them's
Probably
in
a
your
couple.
brain still.
Yeah.
And Apophis Aftermath. So I talked to Nick about this. What we decided is going to happen is it's going to be remixes and the B-sides and new material. So it's going to be quite an album, actually.
Ooh, okay.
I'm already looking at 12 songs that
That's-
encompass this thing. So
That's
and
pretty solid.
some of the
man.
remixes I'm already, and the new originals and B-sides are already up on my SoundCloud under the Apophis Aftermath playlist.
Yep. It's great stuff. Oh, so good.
fun.
It
I like
reminds
it.
me of Frontline Assembly meets Tool. If you're fans of those bands,
Yeah.
so it's
And I can hear
a
Nick's
really good,
Pussifer and A Perfect Circle influences in it too, same as mine. But I was going to mention that Warpaint remix with the beautiful vocal. It's very reminiscent of Fiddle in the Drum by A Perfect Circle that's off Emotive. Okay. And that's a cappella, okay? It's sick, but that's how good that vocal is. Anyway,
yeah.
anything else?
It's got to be the end, dude. It's gone on for, like you said, an hour and a half. No one's finished this.
I love you, bro. All right, well, let's
If
do
you
something
finish this-
again. Let's take.
If you
let's,
finish this,
talk,
send me an
not
email.
Take. Oh, I will. I'm gonna post it.
Yeah. Cool, man.
I'll get it out today. I'm off. I got some remixes to work on, but I'm around the house, kicking around the studio all day.
Sweet, man. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
brother.
go. I'm probably gonna go on a bike ride.
Awesome.
So
I'm
it's been a
raining
while.
right now. I rode
Really?
after work yesterday, and it was awesome with my buddy Johnny Rockets, and we were gonna go today, but the weather's a foul, so.
Ah, too bad, man. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right.
All right.
All right, brother.
See you, dude.
Talk soon, man.
Bye.
All right, later, bro. Good.